Freaky is a 2020 horror comedy film that I didn't know anything about. I think I saw an advertisement on it quickly on Facebook. I didn't want to watch a trailer. I wanted to go into this movie blind, and I'm glad I did. They had a really great marketing ploy and everything too. I think the poster is a woman with red lipstick shaving herself with a knife, you know, lots of shaving cream. And basically, I can probably guess the concept pitch for this movie. Someone was watching the movie Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, and they remembered that Jamie Lee Curtis was Laurie Strode in Halloween. What if you took Halloween and mixed it with Freaky Friday? The concept is basically Freaky. This movie, it's half of Freaky Friday right there, you know. Friday, it takes place on Friday the 13th. It's called Freaky. Obviously, the homage is there. But this movie was a breath of fresh air. Honestly, if you're not familiar with the concept, basically, there's a deranged masked killer in Blissfield. He's called the Blissfield Butcher. He steals this Aztec dagger that he doesn't know has mystical properties. And when he goes on his newest kill spree, he ends up stabbing a girl and not being able to finish her off because of cop's sister. So he runs off, and the next day they wake up switched bodies. The spirits have switched their bodies. So young Millie is a sort of introverted, bullied girl dealing with the grief of her father dying a year earlier. And her mother's an alcoholic, her sister's buried herself into work. So she's sort of just floating by, and her mother's kind of smothering her. She's just dealing with, you know, your average depressed teenage crap. And basically she wakes up in a mass murderer's body, and the police are after him and her in his body. And meanwhile, the killer is also in her body, getting used to being a woman, but also relishing in the advantages and disadvantages of switching gender. So this movie delivers in spades. It's gory, it's funny, well acted, great cinematography for one thing. There's this amazing shot of her just walking into a school that's really well done, montages, music changes, really great production values, really great gore effects. I really like seeing Vince Vaughn flesh his acting chops a little bit and doing something a little bit out of his wheelhouse. It's you know, not something he'd normally go for. He usually goes for like serious crime dramas or, you know, war films, things of that nature, ever since his resurgence after 4 box office bombs in a row back in 2009-ish, around there. Anyways, he's back, and he's back with a vengeance. He does a great job in this movie. So does Catherine Newton. She gets to literally chew the scenery as a demented killer who likes hiding in plain sight. There's also a lot of great little caveats. It's not just them switching bodies. Both of them experience a new perspective. You know, Millie enjoys, you know, being a big, strong man and pushing people around. The butcher obviously enjoys his body too, but, you know, going from a 6'5", 250-pound hulking killer to, you know, a 100-pound petite 5'5" woman, he has trouble, you know, getting the kills done. So it's a bit of a challenge for him to, you know, get new victims without having the advantage of physical size, which is something that's definitely shown at the beginning of the movie. Christopher Landon co-wrote this movie with another, and he directed it. He definitely has a flair for making fun slasher movies. If you've ever seen Severance or Happy Death Day, this movie is way better than those movies in the sense that it's a full rated R movie. You know, it's not like one of those. I noticed that there's a trend of, you know, horror movies, slasher movies with a supernatural twist that try to homage the originals without being like them, and it doesn't work. They try to do that with Expendables 3, you know. The Expendables franchise is supposed to be violent action movies that are a love letter to R-rated, you know, older action movies. And when Stallone betrayed everyone by making a PG-13 action movie with no blood, it kind of deflated the entire franchise to the point where it killed the franchise. So they try to do the same thing with other movies in a similar vein. Horror slasher movies like The Final Girls, or the other one, Happy Death Day. Happy Death Day, it was okay, but I didn't particularly like the way that it didn't, you know, it felt like it was leashed a little bit. But then this movie is rated R. It's fun. It's giddy. This is the most fun I've had watching a horror movie in a long time, and it really surprised me how much there's a little bit of character development in there too, some emotional parts, lots of physical humor, lots of great stuff going on there. The writer-director definitely homages a lot of things, but doesn't just completely steep itself in nostalgia. It's also, you know, doing its own thing, and it's like executing the concept to the most fullest potential that you could possibly get, with an ending that will surprise you as well. So Freaky doesn't have a lot of flaws, to be honest. It's a really tight, solid horror slasher comedy film full of homage. Not much else to say. I give it a 8.5 out of 10.